Welcome to Driven by Dreamz. Today we're joined by Julia Skupchenko, an award-winning social entrepreneur, innovator, and co-founder of Alter Contacts, the think tank for sustainable development. Recognized by the United Nations for global impact, Julia led the Lockdown Economy Initiative during the COVID-19 crisis, supporting thousands of small businesses across 25 countries. Her mission is to eradicate ignorance and empower entrepreneurship in pursuit of a more equal, sustainable world. Let's hear how Julia turned vision into impact. Hi, Julia. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Anishka. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
I would love to learn more about you and your journey.
Well, if I may answer that with a question as well, I saw that you've done more than 25 episodes and maybe even more getting published now. What inspired you to start this podcast? I've noticed that you yourself don't have an interview of yourself, so I was wondering. So why did you start this podcast?
Well, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I was taken to this event called the Young Female Founders. My dad took me 3 years, and I was really inspired by what entrepreneurs were sharing, and I wanted to learn more about entrepreneurship. And so that's why I started this. And so it's been almost a year now.
Wow, that's impressive. And is there something specifically interesting for you in the entrepreneurship journey? So you asked, so what is your journey? But is there any part of it that is particularly interesting for you?
I feel like when people talk about what inspired them to leave the corporate world and start something of their own, because usually it's hard to do that. It takes courage, and everyone has that moment where something happens to them which causes them to do that, or something that triggers, and it's always interesting to find out what that is for people.
All right, so you're looking for that moment. Maybe you're now 14 or maybe almost 15, and
15.
You're expecting that moment to happen to you any day now, right?
Well, I don't know when it'll happen. For some of the people I've talked to, it's happened when they're 20 or 30, maybe in even their 40s. So I don't know when it's going to happen, but...
Well, I can share that, my first entrepreneurial venture was when I was 10. It was only one day. It was in a framework of, let's say it's like a school market fair, where each child has to sell something or do a lottery or do something to earn money. It was made up money, not real ones, but still it was like the first attempt. And then I think I did it 2 or 3 times. And then when I was 15, I actually I became a representative of a cosmetics firm. For me, back then it was like a big deal. So I was basically your age, and I got this catalog, and I started going, to my teachers, to the friends of my grandma, to friends of my aunt. I don't know, my mom is a professor, so she was not very supportive of that particular track. But I think it was a great opportunity to learn how to start making your own pocket money, so that you earn for your pocket. So this is, for me, those were already early calls that I might end up being an entrepreneur.
Wow, that's amazing. What was your first venture, and how did you know after that entrepreneurship was for you?
Well, I think so. I'll leave the early experiences back in the day. Then, of course, there was a big academic part of my life because I graduated from 3 different universities, with a double master's and things like that. Well, I come from a family of professors, so it wasn't even a question at the time. My mom and I still debating whether I should do a PhD or not. But that is still up for discussion. I'm much more of a practical person. I think that's what led me to entrepreneurship ultimately. I really like to be practical about things. I don't necessarily enjoy sitting at the desktop work for days and days and years, which is a lot of the analysis and research happens like that. For me, the interaction with people is important. Seeing the results of my work in life is important, and I think, the projects that I've done already since I'm an entrepreneur, and it's now 10 years, speak for themselves. I'm not gonna go into them now because maybe down the road in our conversation, we touch on them. But to go back to your question, basically, after the academic part, I went into corporate for 2 years, immigrated from my country of origin to the Netherlands. And after 2 years in the corporate, I realized that really the life of in a corporate bubble is really not for me. I'm like way more go and get it. And I started my own venture when I was 25.
Could you share the story behind the founding of Alter Contacts and what inspired you to start it?
Of course. So Alter Contacts is, if I count my adult ventures, so, I mean, the ventures that I started as an adult, meaning over 18 years old. It was my third attempt at an entrepreneurship at a new format. The first one was a translating business. The second one was a business representation of European and other businesses in my homeland. And eventually I came into a business representation in a big corporate in the Netherlands, where I met my co-founder, who was an executive. And we started working together. We worked really well. And suddenly we were like, the corporate still doesn't feel right. Like, it was already the second pass for me at the corporate, although it was a client for me, not an employer. Still, it was a corporate culture, politics, and everything that you might find out for yourself a few years down the line. And he was also a bit tired of it. So we decided that since we worked really well together and we're both driven, maybe as the name of your podcast says, driven by dreams, we need to do something alternative. That is how the Alter, which is alternative, Alter Contacts started. So we basically decided that there are better ideas, that there are ideas that can solve problems that surround us in a simpler way, in a less commercial and a more holistic. I don't know. It's a bit complicated. We were just very idealist in our approach. We said we need to bring to the world something inspiring.
That's amazing. So what were some of the biggest challenges you faced during that transition from a secure corporate role to founding Alter Contacts?
I think precisely what was challenging is the fact that it was my third venture. You know, it was not, the first one was not a success commercially in any way. The first one actually, the best achievement I made there was a viral video on YouTube with a translation that I made that reached 1.5 million viewers. So it was an achievement. However, it was not let's say an entrepreneurial achievement, which still we talk about at least breaking even. So the challenges were precisely, you know, leaving corporate was tough. However, you know, if you really feel like it's not your place, you just decide to step out. You know, maybe there are situations that you're facing already in your life, and they're like, no, I don't think I'm gonna proceed with this. And then that makes it easier. But then when you start something alternative, like for example this podcast, I don't know, maybe it was a bit challenging for you to begin with, you know, how to invite people. I don't know, maybe you tell me a bit about how was your journey with the podcast.
It was tough at the beginning. I was afraid on how I would be judged, but I realized that a lot of people were open to doing it, open to giving me feedback, and were actually impressed with what I had to say as well. So I was actually happy that I was being heard in front of these people who've done so many great things like you.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. And I think if I may speak on behalf of them and myself, you know, it's impressive that somebody at the age of 14, 15-year-old reaches out and says, I'm already interested in entrepreneurship. I already want to go and take initiative in something. Because that is the ultimate trait of an entrepreneur, you know, the ability to take initiative and the desire to do that, actually. And at school, do you have a specialization already? Like, is there a path you're taking, you know?
So currently at school, I'm taking the computer science pathway. So we'll see. I'm not sure yet. what I want to do.
Well, I guess to have this podcast is really helpful because you can find out about different things. So, for example,
Yeah.
Alter Contacts is a think tank for sustainable development. It's a bit of a tricky concept to grasp at the beginning. However, it's also quite simple. Basically, it's an entity, an organization that brings together people from all kinds of specializations, backgrounds, and walks of life. And depending on the project, of course, we have different groups that we work with, different groups of researchers and action takers and things like that. And we put their brains together, facilitate that co-creation, and then something great comes out. And the sustainable development part is for making the socioeconomic development a bit more holistic in a way that it actually works for people and with people, not against them. So we often, for example, we almost constantly do field research, meaning that we go for 3 or 4 months to a specific territory. We live there as a group of researchers. We do observations, we do field notes, we ask people just randomly. We also host interviews. We work together with governments in those places. We do all kinds of field research as it is, and based on that, we try to supply the real life behind the statistical numbers, because a lot of the policies that affect life of different people, they are crafted based on high-level statistics. So what you're doing now is a little bit of a field research. So you have a group of entrepreneurs. They're all have stepped out from a corporate and started this, and then based on that, we can see a bit of reality. How was their journey? What were the challenges? So basically, the information that you're collecting.
Yeah, I would say I've never really talked to someone who's done a think tank before, so this is interesting. I want to know, when you have a lot of great individuals who are working together and they have conflicting ideas, what do you do?
Well, every idea is welcome. That's the essence of the think tank, and the key is in early prototyping. So you know how they say, fail fast, fail safe, or something like this. Basically, fail early. The earlier you do that, the earlier you learn from that. And when an idea comes our way, we basically do a very quick prototyping. So we build, let's say, a roadmap on how it can be implemented. We assess, so what will be the challenges on the way? Is it worth doing eventually? That's the question. Will it bring more value than it takes our resources? And then each idea gets, for some ideas, the answer is yes, we even do, let's say, a small taster of a project. For example, during the pandemic, I'll give an example. So during the pandemic, we faced a bit of a challenge with all our clients canceling their orders because of the situation that was in the world. And for a few months, it was really uncertain. We really didn't know. Do we stop and wait till it all blows over and we can restart? Or do we pivot into something different? And basically we decided that we need to, I decided, in my case, I'm saying we because I have a co-founder. Mm-hmm. I decided that I have a calling in helping other small business owners, because we were all confused as small business owners. And what I did is a bit similar to you. I recorded 30 interviews with 30 guests from 14 different countries. They were all small business owners from different walks of life. It was easier for me because by that time, of course, I had a big list of experts that were also entrepreneurs. So it wasn't difficult to find the guests, to find the people to interview. And that was a prototype. And once I saw the reaction from people, that it was 2020, in June 2020, and we have these 30 episodes out, and then our colleague professor from a university in Mexico approaches us, says, I want to use this information because it's priceless for the MBA projects that we are doing right now, because they can learn from reality, from what's happening right now. Not a single book has it now, and who knows how many years it will take. And these 30 episodes were a prototype, and that MBA project was a prototype. And from then, we saw the response, the positive response, and we scaled to 350 episodes, interviews with small business owners from 42 countries in 17 languages, with the help of 100 United Nations volunteers that we recruited. It was a tremendous project. It really warms up my heart when I think about it. I can talk endlessly, which I'm not going to do now. But we also continued working with universities, so the MBA projects were also a success. And so we designed a specific project that can be run in universities with students involving small business owners from their local geography. And that's basically to respond to the conflicting ideas. Every idea is welcome. One just needs to try it out really fast and really safe.
That's amazing. I mean, 350 episodes, 42 countries, right? 17 languages. Yeah. That's amazing. Were you the one taking the interviews?
The first 30 interviews was me, but from then on, if I wanted to scale, I had to pass on the torch of interviewing to many wonderful volunteers. I think we had 35 interviewers in total, and each of them got a specifically designed guidebook on basically all the way from how do you invite a guest to how do you run this interview, what questions do you ask, what emails do you send, and how do you close the loop at the end saying thank you very much for participating, this is the visual, this is the link, we are very grateful to you. So they got the guidebook of like 30 pages or 20 pages, I'm not sure.
You also talked about the pandemic, right? So your TEDx talk is about that, how the pandemic disrupted everything. So how did you personally navigate that uncertainty while creating solutions for others?
Well, I think at some point one has to believe that it's going to be all right. Otherwise, you just stop and you do nothing, if you just think it's going nowhere. So at some point I had to pick myself up and think, okay, it doesn't matter what it will lead to commercially. I just need to do this. And I mean Lockdown Economy, this initiative of interviewing the small businesses. And when you're helping others, you're actually less concerned about your own condition. Helping others helps to forget what is your own trouble and focus on somebody else's, on resolving somebody else's. And I think this was wonderful help not only for me but also for the volunteers, because they were all lost. We had many different people. So we had students in their first year of university. We had people in between jobs. We had recent graduates without a job. We had retirees that didn't know what to do with themselves, and they all were driven by this desire to do something for others. And some people in their feedback, or some people who volunteered on this project, in their feedback form for us wrote, "This gave me a reason to get out of bed every morning." Another girl wrote that she felt a part of a giant, amazing international team, and through these interviews she traveled the world.
Wow.
So this what helped me to navigate it. I felt that what I'm doing is meaningful for somebody.
I mean, being able to feel that's really inspiring.
You are on the right track. I mean, you are speaking to people, you're learning for yourself, you're bringing that learning to your peers, to anybody who's following you. And there is also a lot of, I guess there's a lot of visibility that maybe this brings to the people who come to your interview. So in a way that you're already creating that meaning out of thin air. And that's what it's all about, right? That's, in a way, especially social entrepreneurship, that it is a lot about that. You're creating impact.
Thank you. So you mentioned education earlier. What role do you believe education, formal or informal, should play in shaping the entrepreneurs of the future?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's definitely a big stepping stone towards whatever career it will be. Of course, if one doesn't pursue any education, they limit their options, because even if you study entrepreneurship and then choose not to be an entrepreneur, it is still a valid universal knowledge in a way. Of course, nowadays one has to choose the university or the college wisely and the program they will be part of. But I will not go too much into that. I think whatever university can give you, you always have to complement it with your own efforts. Similarly to how you're doing now. When I was studying, it was not just I go to university every day and I come back home and I do my homework and that's it. I was hardly ever at university because I was at conferences giving reports on different research I was doing. I was traveling, representing my university at Model of the United Nations. I was traveling on exchange programs for 4 months in a row. So like there was 1 year when I went to Norway for 4 months to study as an exchange student. Then I came back for 1 month. I passed all my exams in like less than 2 weeks or something.
Oh.
It was really tough because at that time the integration between universities was not as high as today. It was not so common to not be present and then come and do your exams. It was all very challenging. However, luckily my university teachers were very understanding, and I knew that having an opportunity to be exposed to European education is very valuable. So whatever I need to catch up on at my own studies, I can do. And then after that month, I left again for 4 months for the whole semester to Canada, again for exchange program. So those experiences, they really open up your mind. And then another amazing thing is, of course, internships. And once again, it's not the university that owes you to organize it. And that I teach at the University of Amsterdam and social entrepreneurship, actually.
Cool.
And I see that a lot of students take this experience as a little bit like, oh, university makes me do that. Yeah, do it or not do it. You're doing it for yourself. It's not the university that's going to get this, that needs to go ahead in their career journey. When I was in my ages of university, we all had to go through an internship. But if you were, I don't know, entrepreneurial, you couldn't decide where you're going to do it. You could call them up yourself and you can say, hey, don't you need an intern? And they say, you know what? We do. And that's how I ended up all the way from my hometown in the north of Arctic region of Russia, all the way to Moscow, which is the capital of the country. And it was just because I called and because I thought, oh, I really want to do an internship in Moscow. I don't want to do it all here. So
That's amazing how you took initiative and were able to do that. I mean, studies are important, but as you said, like taking those opportunities to get that general knowledge as well of the world is also really important. So I think this is a great point to wrap up our conversation. Do you have any final pieces of advice?
I just want to wish you a wonderful exploration of a field of entrepreneurship. I think you're totally on a good track with that. And I hope that your example inspires your peers as well to already undertake something right now. There's so many options of what to do. I mean, from understanding how the Bitcoin moves around and other cryptocurrencies to hosting your own podcast. I mean, the opportunities are endless. It's really for you to grab them, to go ahead and try them. And like I said, every idea is welcome. Give it a shot, try it, and try it fast, try it easy. If it doesn't work out, it is not a big deal. There are many other ideas to try. And I think that's what I would like to finish with this interview. Try the ideas that come to your mind. Be reasonable, of course. And it's okay if they don't work out, because there's going to be a new one and it might be your breakthrough.
Well, thank you so much, Julia. I've really appreciated and gained a lot from our conversation today. So thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts and experiences.
Thank you very much, Anishka.